President Trump offered this reaction as news of the raids on his former national security advisor spread. Take a look.
Have you been briefed on the FBI raid of John Bolton's home?
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife.
Do you expect the DOJ to brief you on this?
Yeah, they'll brief me probably today sometime.
And the foreign minister.
I tell Pam and I tell the group, I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer, but I feel that it's better this way.
Here with the reaction, Fox News contributor and former FBI special agent Nicole Parker and Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. Thank you both for joining us this evening. I want to start with you, Nicole. Could you begin by kind of walking us through the process by which FBI agents obtain a search warrant to go into John Bolton's house this morning?
Absolutely. First of all, there's something that the FBI has that would lead them to believe that a crime may have been committed. And again, they take all of the evidence that they have, and the FBI agent assigned to the investigation will gather that. They'll come up with an affidavit, a probable cause statement. They work with the federal prosecutor or the AUSA, and they take all of that information and they go before a magistrate judge. And then the magistrate judge reviews the affidavit, and the FBI agent raises their right hand under oath. They take an oath. They swear that everything in there is true to the best of their knowledge. And then the judge reviews the information, and they determine whether or not they believe that there's probable cause that this information is correct and that a crime was committed, potentially, and that the information the FBI is requesting to search is something that should be searched. And they identify what items will be searched, what they expect to seize if found, as well as the locations to be searched. And so it's a very thorough and delicate process that is taken very seriously.
Gregg, it's kind of interesting to listen to all of the caterwauling from the very same people over the past 12 hours that were cheering the raid at Mar-a-Lago just a few years ago.
Yeah, obviously the irony should be lost on nobody. These are potentially serious charges if they are as described. I mean, given that Bolton was national security advisor and privy to a stream of classified material on a daily basis, seems to me there are three legal possibilities. He might have illegally removed and stored national defense documents or classified intel in an unsecured place, like a home or office. Number two, he may have leaked to someone classified information, or his controversial book back in 2020 may have contained classified material, even though he said it did not. So, the FBI was searching for incriminating or corroborating documents such as, hard copies, notes, communications, electronic records. But look, it was always foolhardy for Bolton to write this tell-all book. And when the government tried to stop him, a federal judge admonished Bolton to his face, saying, "You are gambling with national security, you're causing potential irreparable harm," and sternly warned him, "You could be criminally prosecuted." Well, Bolton didn't care. He went ahead with a book, which seems to me, as a lawyer, a reckless risk.
So, Nicole, tell us about, you did such a good job of explaining how the agents got to where they were this morning. What can we expect going forward? We will eventually see a lot of the information, like a list of things that the FBI obtained here. That may be a matter of weeks. Explain all of that to us.
Okay, so after they're done executing the search warrant and they seize the items that they're going to take, they leave behind what is called an FD 597, and that's a property receipt form, and it literally lists every single item that the agents took. They sign off on that. They leave it at Bolton's home and his office, wherever they search, along with a copy of the warrant. And that is up to him if he would like to share that with the public, or his attorney would like to share that with the public. But don't expect the FBI to be sharing that information. They keep their information and investigations confidential. And one thing, there's a few things I'd like to note real quick, Charlie. People keep trying to compare this to the raid at Mar-a-Lago and other things that have happened in the past. Let me just tell you some of the differences. This morning, I didn't see any notification to CNN in advance or Fox News in advance showing up to the raid, as we saw at Roger Stone's home. I did not see that, there was a throng of SWAT agents there and the SWAT team there. I did not see that. I did not see that there were documents that were staged on the floor with classified document covers and then pictures taken and leaked to the media. I did not see that. Under this FBI, under Kash Patel, they are doing things with the utmost professionalism. This is not a political thing. This is actually gathering evidence and presenting it as it should be. And in the past administration and other FBIs, we have seen where it does appear to be quite political.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I didn't see that today.
Yeah, I'm so glad you made those very important points. Greg, along those lines, there's no doubt that there was an entire deep state that was pitted against the former president when this happened to him. Do you feel confident that John Bolton's rights will be protected in this process?
Oh, I absolutely think so. I do have confidence in Pam Bondi to ensure that this is being done legally and by the book. Don't forget, Charlie, that the FBI and the DOJ were already investigating Bolton back in 2020, but it was apparently then scuttled by Biden's Department of Justice. So the case may simply be a resurrection, and today's raid was the next step. There may already be a grand jury, which doesn't mean he'll be charged, but, it doesn't surprise me. Bolton has always been this verbal flamethrower, with more enemies than friends, fueled by what everybody describes as a superiority complex. And that kind of arrogance tends to put you in legal jeopardy if you cross the line. And even if Bolton excised classified material from his book, possessing its original source material in your home or office, well, that's a felony, and concealing it is obstruction. And Bolton no longer has security clearance, but even if he did, it's criminal to remove it from secure facilities and store it in your home. Just ask former CIA Director David Petraeus, who got nailed criminally for that.
Indeed. To say the very least, John Bolton has become deranged over Donald Trump. Nicole Parker, Gregg Jarrett, thank you so much for that.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.